Hi, this is David P. with Seattle DSA. I'm the Internal Communications Officer. Today we're going to be learning how to manage projects in Trello. First off, there's an overview, the basics of what a card is. That's the basic building block for organizing a project in Trello. And it's kind of like a sticky note where you have, the due date and a list of things you need to get from the store in a sticky note. That's what a card is in Trello. And then we'll be looking at adding deadlines, tagging people for accountability, adding a checklist, and categorizing a card so you can find it later. After that, we're going to do basics of boards. So boards are like a cork board where you have these cards on, these sticky notes in various columns that are categorized. So we'll look at creating a board, adding new columns or statuses, transferring cards between boards. For example, a project might start with the local council where we've voted on something, and it might move to the Medicare for All committee or the Communications and Design committee. And then we'll look at archiving and cleaning up a board. So taking those old cards and putting them in archive so they're no longer cluttering up the space. And then lastly, we'll look at sharing a board so we can get other people to sort of learn these skills and get involved with the work. So first up are the basics of a card. So this is the Communications and Design Trello board. We have a number of different cards. We're just going to create a blank one. So we're going to call this example card 1. All right, so we just entered it. By default, you only put in the name, and then it's in here that you can start adding more stuff to it. So you might need a checklist. You might need to add people to a card. So it suggests joining it. So let's say I'm accountable for this. We need a thing. And we're going to add a deadline to this card. We're going to say, it's going to be due next Tuesday. All right. We're going to add a checklist. You can name it anything else. You can also copy items from another checklist. So if you're doing a lot of work that's similar, for example, like you're planning an event and you need a security plan, you need the press release out, you need all of this communications and design stuff done, you can copy that list from somewhere else in another board. So if you have like sort of a playbook of how you're going to do an event or an action, you can have that ready to go and copy those items. So you create a checklist, add an item, write the email, and we're going to just tag myself and create art assets. Send it. All right. So I've tagged myself, and I'm also a member of this card for accountability purposes. We can add, we can also categorize this with labels. So these labels are all customizable. You can change them. So in comms and design, it needs to go out on social. It needs an email. It needs a press release. It needs website and tech stuff. It's a priority or help. I don't know what I'm doing. You can customize these to whatever label you need. So let's say it needs an email and it needs art. All right. And then you can also add a cover, and a cover would just add an image. By default, it's going to do thumbnails of whatever image or video you upload into it. So there is a 250 megabyte cap, so older items are going to fall off, or you might have to delete or archive older cards. So you can upload as an attachment and an image. Yeah, so we could look at some of the cards that are completed. For example, the Nabisco Strike, I made a template in Canva. So the link I put there, it automatically shortens it. Had a number of social media graphics that kind of spoofed on various brands of Nabisco without using, brand names or copyright language. And yeah, so that's an example of a card. Wasn't a lot of activity. It was just quick, making it visible so other people could grab the link and customize it. Okay, so to overview what we've just covered, we've done the basics of a card, creating it, adding a deadline, tagging people for accountability, adding a checklist, and categorizing a card. Now you may start thinking, hey, how do I start organizing these cards? And that's what we're at right now. This is what's known as a board, this entire picture. So we have a category that's project resources, ideas, requests, in process, complete, and on hold. And you can add whatever list you want, and it's going to be a list of all these different cards. So you can have, I need feedback, or you could have, this was successful. This is something that we want to highlight and keep in our hip pocket. So going back to the analogy, basics of a board, it's like a cork board. So this is like a cork board, and it's got a number of different lists on it of cards. So we're going to learn how to create a new board. So I'm going to jump out to home. This is what mine looks like. We're going to create a new board, and this is going to be example board for Skillshare. You can set the workplace visibility. You can have it be private, so only people with the link who are authorized to use it can access it. You can have it be public. Some things might be that. You might be working with people in the community for a specific task. And then customize the backgrounds. So we're going to create this board. And by default, there are no lists. You can also create one from a template, and it's going to populate those categories we saw in the communications and design board. So we're going to call this ideas. And in process, for review, complete, on hold. And there we've quickly created a number of different lists or columns of statuses. You can categorize it however you want. You don't have to just limit it to like a process, but because it's a project management tool, it kind of thinks about things that way. But it could be like, this is stuff we're doing that's phone banking, and this column, this list of cards is just on electoral canvassing or van. All right, so next up, we're going to look at transferring cards between boards. So let's say we have something in communication, we have this example card, and let's say that this needs to go to another committee. You can transfer a card from a board you're active in to another board. So for example, if all the stuff that comms and design does is done, and it's actually getting sent by someone else, you could transfer that card. And it's under the actions and move. And then you can select the board and then what list or column on that board. So we could say this is going to go to our example board for the Skillshare and for review. It's ready to hit send and hit move. Card's gone. And then you could bounce it right back as soon as it's done. So you can sort of collaborate with different teams within Seattle DSA. All right, next up is going to be archiving and cleaning up a board. Let's go and actually check out the one we just did. We've got this example card. Let's say it's complete and we don't want to clutter up. We've sent the thing, and now we can hit archive. And it's gone. The clutter's gone. You can always pull it up again later. Unless you delete the card, you have to affirmatively delete it. You can't just archive it and it'll be gone. If you mess something up and you need to delete it, you can hit delete. But yeah, so that archives and cleans up a board. And lastly, we're going to look at sharing a board. From any board, you would just go up to invite, You could type in someone's email address or name. I'm not going to do that, not show anybody's email. You can also create a link and copy that link or download a QR code. That'll allow people to join. So that's it. That's in 10 minutes. What we've covered is the basics of what a card is in Trello. It's sort of like a sticky note, and adding deadlines, tagging people, adding a checklist, and categorizing that card or that specific project we're working on. Then we covered the basics of boards, which is kind of like a cork board for these sticky note cards, where we've got them all arranged in various columns or lists. And then we learned how to transfer cards between different boards, archive and clean up a board, as well as sharing a board with other people. So that's it. That's how to organize a project in Trello. Once again, my name is David P. I'm the Internal Communications Officer for Seattle DSA. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to us on Slack in the comms_design_WG channel. You can also email us communications@seattledsa.org. Thank you. Have a great day.